Paris is a city that just happens to be on everyone's travel list. You can't talk about traveling the world without at least thinking about the magical city of love. Even though it's not a very massive city, at least in the core city center, there's a lot that you can do at every single corner. Hey everyone, my name is Kyle, and this is the Be a Traveler's YouTube channel. If you are new here, do not forget to subscribe to our channel if you find this video interesting and want more videos like this. If you're in Paris just for a little bit, you're going to want to spend your time doing the things that you cannot miss at all. In this video, we're going to be going over the top 10 things you absolutely have to do in Paris. Number 10, visit the Paris Catacombs. While roaming the streets of Paris is a fascinating experience, there's something even more fascinating, at least 60 feet beneath the surface, the Paris Catacombs. Yep, well, the city above the ground is alive, and there's always something going on. There's an entire replica of the city underground that's dedicated to the dead. In the catacombs lie the remains of over 6 million people. The catacombs were made in the 18th century when the death toll of the city had risen so much that the cemeteries of the area could no longer cope. The remains of people began being moved to the limestone mines under Paris, now named the Paris Catacombs. The entire thing is a labyrinth stretching over 200 miles, but a small section of the catacombs is open to the public and can be visited right now. Now you might be thinking that it's just an area with graves, but it's far darker than this. There are rooms and rooms filled with human skulls and human bones. A visit to the Paris Catacombs may be morbid, but it's an experience that you can't get anywhere else. Number 9, visit the Bastille in the Bastille neighborhood. Anyone who has read about the French Revolution would know about how important Bastille was. But today, it's not the city that was stormed all those years ago. There's actually a lot to do and a lot to see there. You can visit the History Museum on Avenue d'Amzonville, where you can really immerse yourself in the history of immigration throughout France. Opera in Bastille. If you want to appreciate art, you can do souvenir shopping at Merci, and most importantly, go see Place de la Bastille. Place de la Bastille is actually the very prison that was stormed at the start of the French Revolution. Before leaving Bastille, don't forget to stop over at Louvre Museum and grab that Instagram photo too. Bastille is a place you can easily spend multiple days exploring and still not get bored. Number 8, take a motorcycle sidecar tour of the city. When you're in a city with a history as rich as that of Paris, it's a great idea to go on a guided tour so you can appreciate the hidden gems that are right there in plain sight. But that doesn't mean you have to walk around in a group of 30 to do it. One of the coolest ways to explore Paris is by taking a motorcycle sidecar tour of the city. These are private tours. They're a lot more personal and you get to ride in a vintage motorcycle sidecar. That just makes that experience a lot more fun. If you're in Paris, it's a great idea to dedicate part of your day just to this. Number 7, Montmartre. Paris is a city with an old soul. There are so many amazing sights to see that are drenched in history. If you're really trying to get to know Paris, you can't miss to visit Montmartre. Montmartre was once a little hilltop village and still remains a place that's somewhat preserved in time. When you go there, it's just like you've been stepped into the past. The cobblestone streets, the merry-go-rounds, and the overall vibe is so unlike the modern world that makes it a refreshing area to visit. But that's not the main attraction. It's actually the Sacré-Cœur Basilica, the church that was created as a symbol for hope after the Franco-Prussian War. Whether you're religious or not, the sheer beauty of this church makes it worth the visit. The mosaic ceiling, the candlelight, and if you happen to be there on a Friday or a Sunday, the Grand Orphan just adds that oomph to the whole place that you didn't even know you needed to witness. You're also allowed to go visit the top of the Dome of Montmartre, and the view from there is one of that everyone needs to see when visiting Paris, at least once. Number 6, Père Lachaise Cemetery. Cemeteries aren't really places that most people want to visit, but this cemetery happens to be Paris's most visited cemetery ever. Not only that, but people pay top dollar to be buried there themselves. Over $18,000 to be exact. Several infamous artists and extremely rich people have been buried at this cemetery, like Oscar Wilde and Isadora Duncan. Speaking of Oscar Wilde, his grave is one of the most visited ones there, and the people that visit leave kiss marks on the grave, to the point that the grave has had to be deep cleaned several times just to keep it sanitary. Apart from that, there are a couple of other famous graves with their own little traditions, like Victor Noir's grave of fertility. The great thing is that you don't actually have to know anything about the graveyard before going. You could even take part in one of the guided tours and experience the whole thing with a lot more detail about each of the famous grave sites. A bit of a weird stop, but one that you should definitely put on your list. Number 5, Notre Dame Cathedral. When it comes to heritage sites, Notre Dame Cathedral is one of that can't be missed. This grand Gothic building was first built in the 12th century, so it's pretty much one of the oldest buildings in the entire world that's truly iconic. One of the best things about this attraction is the fact that it's free to visit. For anyone who can visit it, even if they have no money at all, perfect for a last day in Paris visit. Before you even step foot inside the cathedral, you'll be blown away by the architectural marvel that this place really is. The towers, the gargoyles, and the amount of detail that went into this entire building is literally breathtaking. And well, that's something that they matched on the inside too. When you enter, the first thing you see is the massive 32-foot tall stained glass windows that add a guiding light to the whole place. As you walk down the aisles, you see several chandeliers dimly lit throughout the entire church. And those that have the willpower to climb the towers can even get right up close to the gargoyles and see the incredible view of Paris from the top. Number 4, Tomb of Napoleon. One of the most unique things about Paris is the fact that the city celebrates life as much as it respects death. One of the best places to experience that is at Les Invalides. Les Invalides is basically a giant building that also has a military museum inside. Inside the museum, you have the tomb of Napoleon. When Napoleon died in 1821, he wanted his remains to be buried in Paris. But that didn't end up happening. It took over 20 years before his remains could finally make it back to Paris. And he was buried in a tomb in Les Invalides in 5 coffins. His circular crypt is a celebration of everything he achieved in his life, in a way that you could spend hours there, still not be done admiring the details. Apart from the tomb itself, there are also several other areas in the museum that hold the remains of other war heroes and thousands of artifacts that just can't be found anywhere else. Number 3, the Louvre. While the Louvre might seem just like an Instagram background, because how many photos are taken there every day, it's actually a lot more than that. And I'm saying a lot. The Louvre itself isn't just a shiny pyramid outside or an old palace. It's an entire museum that houses the most incredible art pieces in the world, including the infamous Mona Lisa. This is a museum that's an art piece itself. So even before you go, make your way inside. You'll probably be awestruck by the beauty of the building itself. The inside, the largest museum in the entire world. That's usually why it's a recommended option to go on a guided tour of the place. If you don't, you might just find yourself getting lost in there. If you're an art fan and history fan, you might want to go there later in the day so you can experience the museum in the daylight and the nighttime too. Number 2, Palace of Versailles. There was a time when only the royal families could roam around the halls of the palace, but thankfully, cities like Paris make it so anyone can visit one. Kings of France lived in the Palace of Versailles for an entire century before having to leave during the French Revolution, but they left behind a structure that couldn't be missed. This is a place you should also be taking out an entire day visit, because it's not just a bunch of giant hallways. There's a lot to see. Inside the main palace, you have 2,300 rooms, which you can't really see in one day, but the ones that are a must visit would be the royal bedchamber, Marie Antoinette's bedrooms, and the king's apartment, along with the infamous Hall of Mirrors. But that's not all. Outside the main palace itself, you also have the insanely beautiful garden, the Queen's Hamlet, and the Trianon Estate, places that are so unique you will not regret this visit. Number 1, Eiffel Tower. We can't have a video about Paris and not mention the Eiffel Tower, can we? The Eiffel Tower is literally the symbol of Paris. When the structure was built back in 1889, it was supposed to be taken down after 20 years. But today, over 130 years later, it still stands in all of its glory. Seeing the tower in person trumps any photo you might have seen of it. And then being on the tower just takes the cake. Some say that the view from the top of the Eiffel Tower might be the best view you'll ever see. The best thing about the Eiffel Tower is the fact that it's a totally different vibe at nighttime when the lights begin to sparkle and the tower can really show off. This is a sight you can admire from far and while you're on top of it for yourself. With that, we wrap up today's video on best things to do in Paris. Which one of these things will be your number one? Let us know in the comments below. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel for more videos just like this. See you in the next one.